Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us, fam, for chapter 23. You like the little tree in the back? Um, yeah, I just thought it would be fun to use those old-fashioned bulbs and put that on there, and that will probably be my Christmas tree this year. I probably won't get any other tree. That will probably be my little tree. And last year we had, it was a larger tree, but this year that's going to be it. So, I probably won't do much more with it than that, actually. So I don't know. I like it. So I had the idea in my head and I thought, I kind of like that. So anyway, you might hear some dog barking. I'm puppy sitting and he's learning. He's very smart, by the way. But he's learning um, to match the sounds with what he hears outside. So I'm puppy sitting until this Saturday. And so far, I've done really good adapting him towards the kitties, and the kitties a little bit towards him. And they're all outside, and I have him under a tree on the grass, but he has room where he can run. But the whole idea is that he was chasing the chicken this morning. I was like, stop chasing the chicken, and he just wouldn't do it. So I decided that I'm going to tie him up out there where he has room to run. But the chicken can see that he can't get him, so he will just get used to seeing chickens walk around him and the cats because they're outside and one just walked and saw him on there, but they don't know that he's on a leash. They have, they don't have that where he can only get so far. So he knows it. But then someone delivered a package. So it's like um, this way he can match sounds up with what's going on outside when he hears it. And also, I want him to get used to not chasing everything, and everything can walk up to him as close as it wants. But he can't do anything. And I'm hoping that will make him a better dog because if dogs that can tolerate chickens or ducks walking around them are so much smarter and they have so much better social world too. So anyway, so if you hear any barking, that's what you're going to be hearing. And we're talking about today chapter 23. And so family, whose puppy we're um, um, babysitting. He's been puppy sitting and he's been doing so well. He really has. So here we go. Chapter 23 in Genesis. And again, if you have any comments and if you have any questions, please ask. And if you want to use references about this from the Septuagint, from the Quran, from the Torah, from the Book of Mormon, um, the Dead Sea Scrolls, go ahead, the Apocrypha, and see if you want to share more insight on this chapter. But here's a little commentary. Sarah dies and is buried in the cave of Machpelah, and Abraham buys from Ephron the Hittite. So, Sarah, if you remember, is his wife, Abraham's wife. And I have some little details I've written down about this chapter. I might have to go back to them just to read them. But if you remember, Sarah is 10 years younger than Abraham. So just remember that when Abraham, when Isaac was born, Abraham was 100 years old. So that made Sarah 90. So Sarah has passed now, and I'm going to put my scriptures in front of me. So Sarah has passed now, and I'm going to read. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old So um, think about that. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Isn't that interesting? These were the years of the life of Sarah. So, not how old are you, but these are the years of your life. So, if you're 15, if you're 18, if you're 40, this this is the years of your life, 40 years, which makes a lot more sense than just saying old, attaching old to it. These are the years of your life. And so at this time, Abraham is 131, right? And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah. So Abraham's coming to mourn for Sarah. And we all know that different cultures have different ways of mourning and a different time limit. And sometimes they will even change their clothes and perform certain things. You're not maybe allowed to talk about certain things, or you talk more about certain things. And anyway, so Abraham comes to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And this is really showing he's got a lot of love for her. It's not just, well, it's her time. You know, you know, he really is he is really gonna miss her. And he already does. I mean, when you mourn, usually that's something you do with someone. You have a support system, a loved one, particularly if you're married. You have the support system that you're holding hands with them, you're comforting each other, and he's in mourning, and there's no, who's comforting him. The person that he's mourning over is usually the one he went to for comfort and really wanted to protect a lot. So, verse 3, and Abraham stood up from before his dead. I'm going to have to do something else. I'm getting a lot of messages on Facebook, so I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, here we go. Again, verse 3. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth. So this is over a period of time. He's mourning. It's not just like, oh, they buried her and he's mourning and now he's standing up. There is a period of time between that, an adjustment period. And he says, whatever. It could be 3 days, 4 days before he buries her, 2, 3, 1, So it's not just like, okay, he finds that she's passed and now he's saying, okay, in an hour he's going to bury her or something. So he says, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. So he wants a possession that belongs to him to bury her. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us in the choice of our sepulchres. Bury thy dead, none of us will bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulture. Oh boy, you know what I mean. Sepulture, burial space. But that thou mayest bury the dead. 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. Um, I think some interesting things here is that you see that in this culture they bow to each other. I'm not saying they did a fully bow, but sometimes people will say, "Oh, look, they bowed to them." We don't bow to any man, or in certain religions, you bow to no man. That's a whole different thing than having a courtesy bow. Bows are really neat because some people are afraid of germs, and some people don't believe in touching other people of the opposite gender. So where you might shake hands, instead you bow, which at a time of certain times when people don't want to touch or shake hands because of colds or whatever, it makes sense that they would bow, and that's almost a social distancing thing, bowing, right? Because you're not making physical contact. So it's not a bad culture, it's not a bad thing to bow. It's just a courtesy. And you can see it's even in this culture here that they're bowing. And a bow could just be as simple as that. If you remember, in the European culture, there was curtsy and bowing. People used to do that a lot more. Now, if you're in the States, that's probably one of the places that you really don't bow because you just don't. But you can see, like in Asia and Europe, and apparently this is like the Middle East area, and there's bowing. So, and Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. Now, the children of Heth are Hittites and originate. Okay, this is what I have. Now originated in the Hittites originated in what is now North Syria, Western Eastern Turkey, and are and this place is that the main trade routes. It's in the center. It's in that control of the main trade routes, and both sides of it tax or use taxes and are dependent on the trade they get in this area. So, um, so the Hittites are what is now the North Syria and Western Eastern Turkey area. To give you an idea of, a vision, of what that area, where that area is, because we're more familiar with Turkey now and Syria, right? So that gives you a familiarity that you can maybe visualize the area and the people. But okay, and he communed with them, saying, "If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah." This is verse 9. "Which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for possession of a burying place amongst you." And Ephraim dwelt among the children of Heth. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even all that went in, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, "Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give I it thee. Bury thy dead." It's kind of awkward talking for us, but I get it. So um, he's saying, no. Abraham's saying, "I buy it." And they're saying, "No, we'll give it to you. You're a prince here. We're going to give this to you." Um, I get it though. And Abraham wants to buy it. And I think, let's say you have some land and you just say, "I'm going to give it to you." It seems to have a little bit more precedence if they buy it, because then it is officially Abraham's. It's not, "Well, I gave him this, and so um, later on there could be bargaining, like, "Well, I gave you this and I want to bury someone here," or, "I gave you this, so how about you give this part back?" Or, you know, there doesn't seem to be any deeds really going on, but it seems like this bargain was made, and everyone, "See, in front of my family," he says, "I'm giving you this land." But it looks like Abraham, and this is in 12th verse, "And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land." In 13, "And he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there." So he wants to buy a place, and he says, "I will bury my dead there." He's probably thinking, again, that he really wants Sarah to have a resting place that belongs to him, that he doesn't have to say, "Can I walk through your land?" or, "We're passing through that land," or, "I'm Abraham and I'm bringing my family to visit our dead," or whatever. He doesn't want to have to ask anything like that. He wants it to be his completely, and he has a right to it. He doesn't want, he's probably thinking he wants to be buried there too. and his family too can be buried there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver. So a shekel is a half an ounce. Um, and so, and Ephraim hearkened unto Ephraim, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver. So he's got 200 ounces of silver. If each shekel is half an ounce, current money with the merchant. Now, to give you an idea of how much a shekel is, a working wage for a sheep herder was 8 shekels a year. Um, so that's a lot of money, So, I don't know if they had a fourth of shekels or what, but a half of a shekel is an ounce and shekels of silver. And so a shepherd a year would make about 8 shekels. And he is asking for how many shekels? 400 shekels of silver. And the average working people, a good working wage, 8. So that's a lot of shekels. So you think of that. That's 50 years of pay. If you go by a working person's, an average working person's pay, that's 50 years of pay. Abraham was pretty wealthy, and he wasn't going to spare. He really loved Sarah. You can just read this and you just feel his love for Sarah. And it's some people, when they bury someone, they're like, if you really love someone a lot, you saw a lot of times you're like, I want to bury them. I want to pay for that. I want to make sure I have this. I want them to know that, look what, because everyone is believing in the afterlife, and the afterlife knows what you spent on their funeral and the care. And sometimes it's like, no, this is my responsibility. I don't want anyone else to, give me where she's going to bury. I'm going to pay for her where she's going to bury. This is my last thing I can do for her. And this is what I'm going to do. And probably bury himself next to her. It's just very touching. And 17, verse 17, in the field of Ephron, which was Machpelah, which was before Mamre. Let's see. Let me see if I over here. In the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was thereon, and all the trees that were in the field that were in all the borders round about were made sure unto Abraham for possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went at the gate of his city. And we talked about the gate of the city when we talked about Lot. That usually, that if you're at the gate of the city, it means that you're really well respected in that city. So again, unto Abraham, I'm going to read it again. You probably have it, but unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. Verse 19. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. 20, verse 20. And the field and the cave that is thereon were made sure unto Abraham for possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So I don't really have any more. Let me see if I have any more. No, I don't have any more on that chapter, but if you do, please share it. And we're going to move to chapter 24. When I did chapter 23, I just thought it was very touching, very, very, very touching. Um, all this time he spent and adventures he's had with Sarah. And now, it's not that she's gone into nothingness, but just not having her there with him is just, it's lonely, and it's unusual, and it's a new feeling at this age, particularly in his old age. And he's looking, when he sees Isaac, he's just got to know that he can see both of them in him. And so you just, it's not like you forget about someone you've been with for years and years and years. And when you have that child, you have that person with you in some ways that way too. Their posterity and their expressions are in that child and stuff like that. It's it's an interesting time, but he loves her so much he wants to be buried with her. And a lot of people are. You'll see a lot of people are buried together when they pass. And I there's even been people that when one spouse will pass in their old age, the other one will curl up next to them and also pass within minutes, like 15 minutes or a day or a few hours, and just pass right with them. And it's been, those have things have, I know of a family that did that. They're kind of related through marriage, and there's been other ones in our community, in the news in our state, that have done that. Well, anyway, take care. Hope you have a great day. If you're not going to be with us on the next chapter right away, I hope you have a good time with the rest of your day. And I'm going to go right into the next chapter. And so I will see you there.